What I want to share with you is not really a published copy because that is something I don't like. But of course, we are busy in the remarketing business, and I would like to share some principles that we use in focusing when we focus on the management of the key-to-key handle, meaning the whole defleeting process. Uh, First of all, I would like to quickly introduce Macadam. For those who don't know it, we should perform 650,000 inspections this year, but I think it will be a bit less due to the fact that there are some vehicles missing due to the chip crisis. We are active in 13 countries, over 450 employees, 27 years of experience, market leader, and we are fully independent. As said, we have been in the remarketing and in the inspection business since the start of the 2000 years, with a clear focus on quality, consistency, and flexibility, which is, I would say, the basis principles that our customers require. But added to that, we focus as well on a very innovative IT systems with a team of over 30 IT people, and where basically we made data interchange and data interfaces our DNA. We are partner for all the major leasing companies and OEMs in the different countries. That is for the introduction. Let's talk a bit about, I would say, the paradox within our business. There is a rule in our business that 3 plus 3 plus 3 days is not equal to 9, but is equal to 12. And I would like to go a bit deeper into that. Why is that? As you said, Johan, in the past, we had a quite linear flow, but not now anymore. The mixture of different business channels, the proximity you want to have with customers, the different customers types you have, private, financial customers, financial lease customers request different journeys, and on the end of the defleeting cycle, the sales as well, or kind of way getting different, where you want to basically reuse their vehicles. There is much more a focus on number of contracts leased than rather on assets leased when you speak about the KPIs of the lease course. And so the flexible flow is not linear anymore. It's also becoming circular, which adds on a certain complexity to the whole cycle, and as I said, made it circular. So together with the venue of occasion lease, mobility solutions, car sharing, and so on, you have a delivery of a new car. Indeed, at a certain point, it becomes end of contract or off lease, and you have a return, an intake with an inspection, possibly a repair depending on the channel you go, a cleaning, car wash, possibly an additional inspection with a check gate or another AI gate, a reservation, but the vehicle goes back again to a customer, and the flow goes on and on again. What are the needs for such kind of remarketing flow? Well, the needs start to be different. The linear flow was quite basic, but today you're confronted, as I said, with different customers. What car policy will they need? How do we approach the sales? Have been discussed in the different VECs prior. But how do I open my virtual showroom? Do I show all the small details or defects of the vehicle, or don't we do that? Together with a rotation of the vehicle, of course, you need to focus as well, the same way as rental business, on the occupancy rate of it. How can I increase that? How can I maximize that? And finally, because you're getting circular, the management of the asset and the handling of the asset starts to become more and more complex. And when you share that, and that is basically what you want to achieve when in the fastest way and in the cheapest way. But when you look to all those different circles, often, not to say all the times, there are different actors that need to intervene. And that is where you each time you have a gap between the SLA of one person and the SLA of the other one. And that is why we call it a lead time of 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 12 days. And I'm pretty sure that the remarketing managers that are present here will agree upon that. The inspection company can do a very good business and work in 3 days. The transport company as well, the logistical company and the refurbishment flow as well, but there are gaps in between, and that blocks everything. So what is the basic answer to that? Well, we are in a very digitized world, so data management, data exchange is key for sure, so that you can bring a handshake and basically you have an overview of the whole process, so that you get back to the logic of 3 plus 3 plus 3 days equals 9 days. So that is basically the paradox and the problem setting that we confront in a more circular, more complex deflating process. But how can you bring back that logic? Well, basically, we have focused on our tool, but there are probably other ones, to connect all suppliers and to have a helicopter view of everything, either by portal, either by API or interfaces. That is one principle. The second principle is that the same way as a pit stop where 23 persons change tires in 2 seconds or in less than 2 seconds, you need to assign roles and tasks so that everybody is glimpsing, doing exactly what he needs to do on the time he needs to do. He is measured and he is improved. And that is the art of the pit stop. So if I do a small recap on the pains that generate that paradox, first of all, we get a higher complexity. It is more difficult to get an overview on the communication in between parties, to measure the lead times in between parties, to basically even know the status where the vehicle is within the whole process. And further all, because there are different intervenients, how do you assure your quality? Secondly, as I said, because there are much more interveners, much more stakeholders from customers, different types of customers, different types of compounds, even possibly different types of leasing or ownership companies, and as well different types of body shops, smart repair, heavy body shop, and so on. All those stakeholders need to be put into a network. Different tasks needs also to be managed: transport, repairs, long-term storage, local inspection, remote inspection, and that in all kinds of order. And finally, all those three first items need to be set up within a process that can vary per customer, per car, per compound, and need to be very flexible. So on this slide, you have quite a lot of challenges in order to tackle the whole defleeting process and bring exactly where the car that was defleeted, exactly where you want to have it and to sell it. So if you have a complex flow or too complex flow, you will lose on lead time. If your network is too heavy, the risk is to lose flexibility. If you have a lot of tasks, it will put a lot of pressure on communication, and having a very differentiated process will create a lack of user friendliness. These are basically the 4 items or the 4 risks we try to tackle. And I will share with you some principles where, and it might be easy to or open door to mention these, but basically you need to focus on that. You need to, even if it's complex, try to simplify all the different tasks. You need to, because you have a huge network, you need to try to connect it. Because you have a lot of tasks, you need to have a clear task management. And finally, the complexity of your processes need to be very simply visualized so that the manager of the process can immediately intervene as soon as there is an issue. And basically, you need to have a car handling that is simplified and that is focused on the exceptions. Why is that? Because today, I believe that more than 90% of the flow runs well. We are all digitized. Most of the intervenients or stakeholders speak together. They know what they have to do. But as soon as there is an exception that comes in, there, I would say the shit hits the fan. There you have a problem that come up. So what? How do we try to act and focus on the different business goals, which are lead time, flexibility, communication, and user friendliness, in order to bring that? First of all, the lead time, basically every single contractor within our system or every single stakeholder that needs to process tasks has an SLA. Every single task is managed against those SLA, and the tool is built, or you need to build your tool in order to be able to focus on your exceptions. It's the exceptions that are important, not as much as the continuous flow, especially if you have a lot of if you have a lot of vehicles to process. Secondly, the network, it needs to be connected in any way, but everybody within the network, within the workflow needs to be connected, from a car washer to a refurbisher, to a transport company, to a second compound or overstock compound, the inspection company, the gates that you use. Everybody needs to be connected. That is key, because as soon as you lose a connection, you don't know what happens anymore. Connections can be either through interfaces or to apps, APIs, web interfaces. Anything is necessary so that all the different stakeholders that are from different levels and maybe sometimes not fully digitized need to be able to communicate so that you know what happens where, and so that you can manage the process. Communication is key in managing tasks. As I said, you need to have one communication platform, ideally, which is embedded within your process management flow, so that there you can manage all the tasks, and those tasks are distributed to all the different stakeholders and the respective stakeholders. Finally, it needs to be user friendliness. As soon as you get complexity, you lose the grip on your whole process. In order to manage complex processes, you need to have a good visualization. We use a Kanban board with a lot of details on the card or behind the card, and swim lanes in order to know exactly for each stakeholder what he can expect to receive, what he needs to do, what he needs to finish, and what he needs to invoice. So that for every stakeholder, again, you know exactly what you need to do and when you need to do. So, in a nutshell, if you want to process your D-fleet on an effective way in a more complex circular world than it was previously, our four basic principles is: be sure that you have a web-based, communicated, interacted, real-time Kanban board. That is key, so that you know exactly where it is. You need to put all your vehicles all together within one process, because rental, pool, off-lease vehicles, these need all to be managed exactly the same way, because they follow the circular way, and they can go from one status to another, from one type of off-lease contract to a rental contract, to a pool contract, or to an occasion contract. Third focus is to manage on flow and communications, which is key. And finally, you need to have very strong interfaces with all stakeholders, so that you can simplify the process and focus and manage on exceptions. And I would like to end up with a quote of Gardner, which says that excellence is doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Defleeting is an ordinary thing to do, but it takes a whole lot of challenge to do it extraordinarily well. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Bertrand. Just maybe a small question before we go over to the other expert. Thanks for your explanation. Now, you were saying, and I think indeed in this more complex environment that we're in, that everything needs to be connected, and so all different stakeholders, suppliers, everything needs to be connected. Now, I'm going to ask maybe a challenging question, but it could be interesting. How far or how much of the industry today do you think is connected, or how much potential is there still? Are we very far from this connected world, or I think that systems probably are available or could be implemented, but are they implemented?
I see still a lot of improvement within the market. The big fleet owners have focused the last years very much on the sales, the front office, how to digitize the sales. Secondly, how to create circular products. But today, you really feel the pain and the demands from how can I manage that? How can I manage that? And as I said, most of the time it's okay. 90% is okay, but at the end of the day, you get with overstock, and of course we are in a period which is very strange within our world. But we need to understand that within 1 year, I guess that a lot of vehicles will be defleeted, and then you need to have your logistics right. And so I still believe that there is improvement. We implemented one customer in the Netherlands last year, and basically he reduced his overall lead time by over 25%.
Which is enormous, yeah.
Which is basically enormous. If you process 1,000 vehicles a month, and you have 1,000 parking spaces, well, parking space is really a physical limit. And if you can improve your cycle, manage it better, you will reduce your need of parking spaces, and that is already a huge cost reduction that you can perform. So I still there is a demand for it on all levels.